Hello from somewhere in the United States. It's a top secret mission. I can't tell you where I am. I'm obviously in a hotel, but that's not why we're here. While I was home, I took my son and his Arrma Mojave out, and it was making this grinding noise. Being in the RC hobby since the late 80s, you'd think I'd call it right out. You'd think I'd know what the problem was. Well, I thought it was the rear differential because it sounded like every time you put the power down, it was grinding. So the original gearboxes that come with the Arrma Mojave, the version 1 especially, when they get warm, they kind of expand and then it loses the tightness in the mesh. They don't want to admit it, but that's what happens. Especially if you've been running hard in that tall grass, it really gets toasty back there and it gets loose. So to avoid that, you can get the upgraded Bulkheads, gearboxes, whatever, from Vitavon, the nice aluminum ones. Costs money, but then you don't have to worry about it after that. So I was dead wrong. Well, I'd say I was 40% wrong. All right, here, watch this. Also, if you've been watching the last few videos I put out, you'll hear at the end on the red Mojave that there's a grinding noise. That happens because the original bulkheads that come with the Arrma Mojave, they get warm and the plastic gets a little sloppy, and then the gears stop meshing properly. Okay, maybe I was like 27% correct, but it is true that the bulkheads do warm up and they don't get like way out there. They just get warm and loose. Anyway, I took both bulkheads apart, took the whole truck apart, and what I found was his bearings in the front for the input shaft were completely shattered. And they were the original Arrma bearings. I wasn't about to order the original ones, put them back in, the OEM ones. Wasn't about to do that. So I ordered the kid some FastEddy bearings just like I have in my Mojave. So he should be able to go stupid fast unless he gets something caught in there and burns off the seal or something. So I installed a new set of FastEddy bearings and a new set of front and back Vitavon bulkheads. His truck is indestructible now. Well, reasonably indestructible anyway. So as I was going along taking the Mojave apart and disassembling the axles and the drive shafts and the bulkheads, I found out there are more than just the input shaft bearings or input gear bearings that were shot. Pretty much all the bearings on the axles and bulkhead were shot. So they were all replaced at one time. So a 2-hour job turned out to be like a 4-hour job. I don't mind. I enjoy doing it. So I rebuilt the whole car with bearings, except for like the steering rack. Those were still in good condition. They didn't need to be replaced. This tonic flux lubricant that I'm using as I reinstall the new bearings is a super duper lubricant for skateboard bearings. I've been using it in my Mojave since the pandemic when I overbuilt my Mojave, and the bearings are still in the same exact shape and spin quite freely, there's nothing wrong with them. They're just in great shape. The tool you see me using pinching down the axle extender are aluminum shock tools. I have 2 different types, for rebuilding shocks. And if you refer to the metal hardness scale, if you use aluminum tools on aluminum parts, you probably won't mar them or scuff them up in any way. If you use a steel pair of pliers to do the same job, it's going to leave scratches and you're going to start rounding off the edges for your socket wrench and stuff. So always use the hardness scale as your reference when using the tool on a part, and you'll end up with no issues. A lot of hobbyists have a lot of opinions on what to do on your CV joints. I just throw some silicone shock fluid in there or differential fluid, and that keeps it nice and lubed up. And if you do that once or twice a year, you'll be fine. These are 4 years old and they look brand new inside, nothing's loose. And then after you administer it into the cup, you just work it in. It'll be fine. You don't need to go out and buy a $30 tube of some super lubricant. Silicone, oil, or fluid will work just fine in this situation. You can even put some of that silicone fluid in between the bearings that hold the axle. You could also use red marine grease, whatever, as long as you take them apart once in a while and clean out any dirt, because a little bit of dirt will work its way in there. These are not perfect pieces of metal here. Do your maintenance and your due diligence and they'll be fine. Don't forget as you're going along and taking things apart that you have to clean. You're going to get rid of all that old sand and dirt and whatever's clogged up in there. Otherwise, it acts as an abrasive and your parts will loosen up and not function properly. So you'll want to clean as you go along. I had already pre-lubricated these bearings with the Tonic Flux skateboard bearing lubricant and made sure that the inside of the bearing carrier or hub carrier was clean and put them in. It's really an easy job. Keep up on your maintenance and the car will last a long time. When you're replacing the pin, and what you see here on my car is these are 20mm axle extenders. I think they're from Practical Prototype Solutions or one of the other manufacturers, and they make a huge performance improvement. Don't forget to use the blue Loctite. You can use purple, but I've had very good results by using the blue Loctite. It works. Just use it. Otherwise, your wheel's going to fall off. And again, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.